I'm Melissa. I'm also known as Brittany's mum in this place. I've been at C3 Home now. We came here about 4 years ago in December, and we were looking for, I think God was just taking us and moving us to a different place. And we came here a few times and I felt the friendliness, and it was just an amazing feeling. And then when we finally came here permanently in the December 4 years ago, I remember being at the front door and Pastor Alana Murray saying to me, "Welcome home." And it was like it was from God's words to her, to me. And it was just this incredible peace and knowing that we were in the right place and this is where we belonged, and that it wasn't going to be this big effort to fit in or anything like that. It just became our home very, very fast. So we love it here, and it certainly is our home. So I grew up in the country. I was raised in Eden, down the far south coast. I was raised a Catholic, went to a Catholic school, had a very strict Catholic grandfather, but we really only went to church Christmas and Easter. And, you know, I think I was thinking about today, and I had more a fear of God. I didn't know the love of God. I would turn to God when I needed Him, but it was more this rules and regulations and just this fear that, you know, I had to be a good person, a good girl to get His love, I guess. And that's how I grew up. And then I moved to Sydney and I met my husband, Gad, and, you know, we got married. And within 2 years of being married, there was something missing. Our marriage was not great, and I was feeling incredibly empty. Just to go back a little bit, I was quite an insecure, fearful person and didn't have a whole lot of confidence in myself. And I think when I got married, I thought that Gad would fill all those needs inside of me, and that, you know, I would feel whole being married to him, and expected him to, you know, make me feel better about myself, which of course never happens, in case you were wondering. And we were at a conference in Hawaii with our business, and I was so empty. Our marriage was really not great. And I remember speaking to somebody and just saying, I just feel empty. And I was looking around at a lot of people there in our business, and I knew they had something that I didn't have. And it wasn't money, it wasn't success, it wasn't anything like that. It was just this peace they had in their life and this joy. And I was so lacking that in my life. So I spoke to somebody who was a Christian, and she said, "There's an optional worship service tomorrow, come along." Gab went to golf, of course, and I went to the worship service with a friend, and she sobbed through the whole service, and I'm like, whoa, what the heck is going on here? I had no idea. And I was like, you know, I was a good Catholic girl, and this was not what I had thought, you know, spiritual or religion was. Anyway, we came home, and somebody took us actually to what was Christian City Church back in those days, which is C3 Church, in a school in Sylvania with about 20 people. And we walked in there, and the pastor was almost ready to close the doors. And there was us and another couple walked in there, and we gave our lives to the Lord, and we fell in love with Jesus. And we filled that church. We just couldn't stop talking about him and how good he was. And we would say to people, just trust us, you need to come along. And, you know, that church actually grew quite quickly, and it was such a good way. The pastors really sowed into us and our hearts and our faith journey in those days. But, you know, I still had not overcome all my insecurities. And you know what I love most about the Lord is that he's like an onion. He never just throws all your problems out at you. You know, it's gradual, and he peels it one by one. And he needed to deal with my insecurities and my fears. And I remember I had Brittany, I didn't have Jake at the time, and a mentor in America who was a Christian who had who was the person actually that I knew had something in her life that I didn't have. And she said, unless I overcome my insecurities, I would pass them on to Brittany. So I came home and I went to work with the Lord. And I committed from that day on that I would get up every single morning of my life and spend time with Him. I do a Bible study every single day of my life to this day. That's a lot of years ago. But I know I can't do my life without Him. I can't start my day unless I have time with Him, because I can sway and I can be not the best person I can be without starting my day like that. So He helped me overcome a lot of those fears, a lot of those insecurities. He really started to let me see myself in Him. And I think what I had still not realized was how much He loved me. And I had thought about grace, like I thought Jesus was over there, my pile of sin was here, and I was here, and I was working my way to heaven, and I was going to be a good person, and I was going to work my way, pleasing Him and pleasing people to get His love. And I think it was striving. That's what it is. It's striving, and it's exhausting. And I got to about 40 years of age, and I got depression. I fell into this hole that I just couldn't pick myself up out of. And we went to a counsellor, Gad and I. We really did some work on our marriage at that point. We still needed work. And, the Lord took me to my knees. He said, these things have to go. People pleasing, trying to measure up and trying to be perfect and trying to, be worthy of love, I guess, which I see so many people doing in the world today. They try and fill their lives with alcohol or substances or trying to get people to make them feel better about themselves. And I realize there's just a hole in all of us that only the Lord can fill. And anyway, He went to work on me, and He said, this people pleasing, these, putting people over me almost, had to go. And I went to my knees, I went to the carpet, and we did a lot of work. And we're still probably working on that journey, but I would definitely have to say I'm unrecognizable today because of all the work He's done in my heart. He's healed all of those, unhealthy habits that I had. And I was always my own worst enemy. The enemy will come at you with lies that you're not good enough, that you are not worthy, that you can't do this. And I married into a family of all doctors. Gad was a dentist and his whole family were doctors. I just did not ever feel like I was worthy enough to marry him and all of that. So I was my own worst enemy, and I know Satan played on that a lot, but God is bigger, and He did such a work in my life. And the striving, He helped me overcome and know that I didn't have to perform, and that He just loves me as I am. The yuck stuff and all that, He's never been on the other side of my sin, that He's always been here with me, loving me and guiding me. And just, from the minute I met Him and asked His forgiveness, He was there at my side. I didn't have to perform and please Him or whatever. Anyway, the journey, it's a lifelong journey that we go on, our faith journey. And just before my 50th birthday, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And once again, we were overseas. I had a biopsy because we had discovered a lump, and then I thought, we're going away, I better go and get it checked out. And we landed in LA and got an email from my doctor that yes, I had breast cancer, and I needed to see somebody when I got home. I didn't have to rush home, thankfully. But I remember hitting the floor in the hotel room and just saying to God, do I have any unforgiveness in my heart? Because I didn't want anything in me that may have caused this between Him and I. I just wanted to know that my heart was pure and that there wasn't anything there. And Anyway, as it turned out, he just provided the people. He didn't heal me. I ended up having 2 tumours. But what he did do, he provided the people in my life. We had actually had a mentor of ours die the day before I got diagnosed in America. So we were there and we had 2 spare days. We went to Mexico to a clinic because I didn't want to have chemo, and we knew about this clinic. And as it turned out, this doctor was a full-on Christian. And as it would be the Lord, he just gives you everything that you need. And that's what I needed. I needed somebody, and she gathered around me with the receptionist and Gad. She prayed over us and she said, "It is finished," like just a full-on beautiful Christian. And from that minute on, I had such unbelievable peace about the breast cancer. And we came home and I had a lumpectomy. Our prayer was that I didn't have it in the lymph nodes, which I didn't. So we thought it was all over. We were going out to celebrate a week later and went to the doctors, and he said, "No, you have 2 tumours and they're bigger than I thought, and you need a radical mastectomy." And like, I'm rarely speechless. And Gad is never speechless, but he was white, and I remember hitting him and going, "Say something." And it shocked us, but it was okay because we had prayed, and the Lord just really, really carried us. And I remember, as I said, Gad's family were all doctors, so I didn't want to have chemo, and I asked the Lord that I would get clearance because I wanted to go down the natural path of the Mexico clinic. And I remember saying to the Lord, "Please just let it be clear that I didn't need radio, that I didn't need chemo, that there would be no, people saying to me, 'Oh, you should have had it,' or any doubt in my mind." And it was black and white. I didn't need either. And yes, I had a radical mastectomy, but I think part of it was not even for me. Like, my husband is a control freak, and he was so out of control. We just had to rely on the Lord. And he did a beautiful thing, not only in us, but people around us, seeing our faith in him at that time. And he has been so good to us. And, we've raised our kids in church. We would never want to be not in church. And, if we're in Sydney, I always say we're at church, because the covering of being part of a church home, it's just spiritual, and it's, it's obedience, I guess, to him. And he has he's never let me down. And my journey, I am so unrecognizable today to who I was when I first met him. And he's just been so gentle and kind and carried me and loved me and made me just know that I'm okay and that I'm worthy and that he's there for me, and that, he just accepts me. And I know that so many people they try and fill their lives with other things, but it's only him. It's only him that can do that. It's only him that can make you whole. And only him that will just give you healing in your heart, that gives you the capacity then to have love and joy and peace and all the wonderful things that he promises. So,